Okay, so sorry I've taken a little bit of time to get up to number three of So You Want to Study the Bible. And I'm giving you my method of Bible study. I'm showing you how I approach the scripture. And it usually is very simple, but it does become second nature. I mean, after all, I'm doing this for almost 50 years. I know that really dates me. It's not quite 50, but we're getting close there. So what I want to do today is ask you, first of all, did you do some kind of outline with the Gospel of John? If you did, you should have come up with at least four, maybe five different sections of just seeing the change of things. I'll give you a hint. The um, prologue to John goes all the way down to verse 18, and that talks about Jesus from John's perspective. He goes back and calls Jesus the Logos of God, that in the beginning was the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God. And so you just have to observe that. If you have any kind of a good Bible would tell you in the margin what the Greek word is, and that is the word logos. If you're using a concordance, that would also be something you want to do, is just start to look up some of those things. But then you ought to see John the Baptist show up, and John gives a witness first to himself, and then he gives a witness to Jesus. Those are two separate things. He's authenticating something, or at least we think he is at this point, but you have to ask those questions. And then after John does witness to Jesus, we see Jesus now going to make disciples. And so that would be, you could break that down any number of ways. How he went and told Andrew to follow him, and how things move on from there. And then we get to see Nathaniel and Philip. And it's interesting that Philip gives us some kind of background. Now, you would ask the question, because this is the interrogation part of observation, or the second part of methodical Bible study, is ask the question: is Philip a normal name for a Jew, or is it a Hellenistic or Greek name, which we could find out very easily it is? And we notice that a lot of what Jesus does there is he gives us these ideas that, or John rather, gives us these ideas that he's really writing for someone else. So what we want to do is we want to see observation. What does it say? Before we ever get to what does it mean, we want to get to what it says. And here's something that you're going to have to learn about studying the Bible, and that is this word, genre. And let me just bring this up here for you. Genre is a particular, very specific understanding of the scripture. The genre is best understood, if I could say this, in music, as well as literature. But music is something that you probably would be more knowledgeable of, like what hip hop is. In my day, hip hop wasn't even on the radar, but we had rhythm and blues. We had classical music, which of course is probably in modern music that goes back to the Renaissance and the great classical writers. So you have classical music, you have rock and roll, you have blues, you have soul. They all give you a different understanding. When someone says he's a soul singer, you automatically know what kind of singer he's going to be. Or someone says it's rhythm and blues that I like. Well, you automatically know that the style of music that's going to be there. Those are all genres. And so when we look at scripture, we have to ask, what genre is this? Because it's going to help us when we get to interpret. So in observation and interrogation, we're looking at this scripture, and we notice that the Gospels are a narrative. and it's a narrative about Jesus. He's certainly the focus of the Bible. And I have to say, I keep on putting things on you, but you're going to have to get the big picture of the scripture. And you have to understand what is the major theme of the scripture. And for me, it is Jesus. It is not whether you are what you think of the end times, whether you are a dispensationalist or a reform thinker and covenantal thinker. I tend to think of the theme of the Bible as Jesus. I believe there are covenants given in the scripture, but I also believe that there are things that come to light that are going to point us to Jesus. We know that God is a covenantal God. We could see that in the scripture. He keeps on making covenant with man, but man keeps falling. But you can go back to the garden and see what Eden was and what God intended for man there, and just follow that through. Follow that through the whole of Scripture. The temple is another theme, very important. The kind of temples there are. What are temples? What are they used for? But I don't want to lose focus on genre. You have the prophets, and when they are prophesying, they are speaking for God. When you read the Psalms and Proverbs, that is a different kind of literature, a different kind of genre, and they ought to be taken. You ought to take account of what it is. Now, you may have to get some books to help you understand that, to even understand what narrative is, and what was narrative in the first century. What other kinds of literature were people writing back then? What did the Jews understand? What did the Gentiles of the first century understand? These are all things that we have to really get our hearts and minds around when we look at Scripture and as we look at Scripture. So that's our brief lesson for today, is just to understand observation and start to ask questions. And I will do more on the interrogation part in the next section. Hopefully I won't make you wait too long. What you also want to do is know I will be speaking at Long Branch Covenant Church for the next 3 Sundays. I spoke there this past Sunday. If you go to this website here, 12:30 on Sundays, you'll be able to see the videos of it. So today you can go back and look at, there it is on YouTube. That's what you put into search. But I'll be speaking there the next 3 Sundays on the Gospel of Luke and the book of Acts, and just really taking an overview of the message that's there. That's 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, thanks for tuning in this time. Please go down to the link below. Like us. If you want to make a comment, you can do that. And click on the subscribe button. And if you click the bell, you'll also get to see the next time I upload a video. Okay, so let's do that as well. Hey, did you know that I also have a website? It's just www.raysiervo.com. And if you sign up for my newsletter or sign up to the website, you will have access to a free 5-lesson course on apologetics. It's absolutely free. There's no charge for it at all. And you can go at it at your own pace and enjoy learning apologetics. Hope you look into it. Right below, www.raysiervo.com.